The animal pens at Harco Station smelled terrible from ammonia under two suns that never warmed the gray iron sky. Jace Merrick watched a huge gray-skinned alien called a Corvin pulling a thin blue girl by a worn rope. Her copper-colored hair caught the sickly light, and her purple eyes looked down at the ground. The alien shouted prices at people who came to buy things, but they all shook their heads. No, Jace's chest felt tight, and what he was about to do would reveal secrets that neither of them knew about. Harco Station circled around a dying red giant star. It was a stopping place where people without hope gathered. The marketplace spread across metal platforms with flickering holographic ads in the constant twilight. Jace had come to buy spare parts. His repair shop barely made enough money to survive. He fixed broken systems for traders. He liked machines better than people. Machines didn't judge him. The Corvin stood shouting over mooing cattle, holding the rope attached to the blue-skinned girl roughly. She looked like she was about 20 years old. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent pale blue that faded to lavender. Copper hair fell in messy waves. She wore a simple gray dress, and her bare feet were bleeding on the metal floor. Her eyes struck him most, large, almond-shaped, and completely empty of expression. She looked at nothing. "Deaf and dumb," the Corvin yelled. 50 credits. A bug-like alien called a Quellen clicked dismissively and walked away. Jace walked closer. The Corvin's eyes got narrow. "You interested, human? Didn't think your kind had money for luxury." "What's her name?" The Corvin laughed. "Name? She doesn't hear it. Bought her from her stepfather on Cerulean 6. Nobody wants damaged goods." "How much?" 60 credits. Human tax. Jace had 43 credits. He could sell parts or pawn his father's old watch. 40 now, 20 by tomorrow. "Fine, but if I don't see those credits by noon, I'm coming to collect. And I don't just take credits." Jace transferred 40 credits and took the rope. They walked toward the lower decks. As they went down past dock workers, one dropped a metal crate with a loud clang. The girl flinched, just a little, a tensing of shoulders and barely noticeable turn toward the sound. Jace noticed tiny details in systems. She wasn't deaf, but while workers laughed, the girl's eyes held a secret, one that could get them both killed. Jace's shop was messy with salvaged technology. Circuit boards hung from the ceiling. The air smelled of solder smoke. He removed the rope and tossed it away. She stood still with her hands clasped. "You can sit." She didn't move until he pointed clearly. He knelt down and cleaned her bleeding feet. When he dropped a tool behind her, no reaction. Cleared his throat. Nothing. But when his stool scraped the floor, he caught it, a microscopic tension in her shoulders. She could hear. The deafness was a lie. He placed a protein bar in her hand. Only then did she eat. Jace searched for Cerulean species information. Cerulean 6 was contested. Refugees were falling into slavers' hands. Ceruleans were known for empathic abilities and sharp sensory perception, including hearing. He moved to his workbench, speaking casually. "I'm going to get those 20 credits. Can't let that jerk come back." No reaction. He continued, watching from the corner of his eye. "You know I've never owned anyone. Once I've paid that debt, you're free to go wherever you want." Her fingers tightened in her lap. Her breathing changed. "Must be hard pretending to be deaf when you're not. Makes me wonder what you're protecting yourself from." The girl's hands went still. Then slowly, she turned her head, orienting her ear toward him. An acknowledgement. "I'm not going to tell anyone, but I need to know. Are you in danger?" She remained frozen. Then, almost imperceptibly, she nodded once. No one could have predicted what that single gesture would unleash. Jace didn't sleep. The girl curled on the couch and fell asleep within minutes. He pulled up archives about Cerulean 6, stories of children with unusual abilities taken by research divisions. Empaths used as lie detectors, and those who resisted sold into black markets. If she was empathic, pretending to be deaf would be perfect camouflage. He had until noon to find 20 credits. He looked at his inventory, plasma couplers, calibrators. His father's chronometer sat on the shelf, still ticking after 60 years. His father had been a mechanic too, killed in a docking accident when Jace was 16. The chronometer was all Jace had left. His father would have done the same. At Merrick Salvage, the elderly Quellen examined each item. Terran chronometer, pre-expansion, functional. Keeps perfect time, Jace said, his throat tight. Sentimental value. His credits with buyback option for 15. Deal. When Jace returned, the girl was awake. Her eyes tracked him. He set down food. She didn't move until he placed it in her hand. At 11:53, heavy footsteps echoed. The Corvin arrived with two others, a scarred Vaxian with robotic enhancements and a hulking Gra. You have my credits? Jace transferred 20. The Corvin checked his device, but the Vaxian lingered, his robotic eye focusing inside. That's a cerulean pure bloodline. There are people looking for pure bloods worth more than 60 to the right buyer. The Corvin turned back. That so? Walk away, Jace said. Transaction's complete. Maybe I should buy her back. 100 credits. She's not for sale. The Gra stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. I said she's not for sale. A chime from the Corvin's wrist broke the tension. He scowled and waved off his companions. Your lucky day. But think about my offer. They left. When Jace turned, the girl was standing. First time without instruction. Her violet eyes met his, and he saw gratitude and hope. Then the shop's console lit up. Priority, station security, security officer Ven. We're conducting welfare checks on recent labor acquisitions. Please confirm status. She's fine. Fed, sheltered. Protocol requires visual confirmation. We'll inspect within 6 hours. The transmission ended. The girl stood rigid with terror. For the first time, she looked directly at him with desperation. Then she spoke, her voice soft but melodic, carrying harmonics that resonated in his chest. They'll take me back. Not deaf, not mute. Who will? The Collective. They owned me before my stepfather sold me. She wrapped her arms around herself. They'll scan me, see my neural markers, and I'll disappear. She closed her eyes. I hear everything. Every thought touched with emotion. Every feeling given sound. It never stops. I heard the Corvin thinking about which buyer would pay most to see me hurt. Empathic perception translated into auditory input. She experienced emotions as sound. That's why you pretended to be deaf. She nodded. The Eluldran Collective bred us to be living intelligence tools. I was 9 when they took me. 7 years in their facility before the Coalition raid. My stepfather was a guard who defected. Took me with him. But he couldn't afford to keep me. Couldn't stand having his thoughts exposed. What's your name? Lyria. Lyria, I won't let them take you. You can't stop them. They'll scan me, find the neural implants, and trace me back. The implants, are they integrated or hardware? Hybrid organic synthetic interface in my auditory cortex. They enhance my empathic sensitivity and translate emotional resonance into sound. What if we change what the scan finds? You'd need to reprogram their output signature. That requires neural interface equipment. That I have. He pulled out an illegal neural interface rig. Your implants are just another computer system. If you make a mistake, you could scramble my brain. I know, but if I do nothing, you lose yourself anyway. She nodded. I hear your intentions, your fear, determination, kindness. It sounds like bells, clear and true. I trust you, Jace Merrick. He positioned the neural crown on her head. The display showed intricate synthetic pathways threaded through organic tissue. Ready? No, but do it anyway. Data exploded across the display. Identification codes, security protocols, military-grade encryption. His fingers flew, running decryption algorithms. Lyria sat still, occasionally wincing. Talk to me. I'm hearing colors and seeing sounds, disorienting. That's normal. It'll pass. He found the identifier codes beneath 3 encryption layers. He wrote a program corrupting the identifier, creating cascading errors that would appear as natural hardware degradation. Uploading now. This will feel strange, Lyria gasped, gripping the armrests. The codes fragmented, replaced by randomized data. Almost done. Process completed. He removed the crown. Lyria slumped forward. Lyria? She looked up, eyes clear and focused. Did it work? They'll see implants but won't trace them. You'll appear to have aftermarket augmentation. She looked at him. You gave up something precious for someone you didn't know. Why? Because no one should be property. And because I could. 4 hours later, Officer Ven arrived, a Taxian with scaled skin and 3 eyes. Where's the acquisition? Jace gestured to Lyria. Ven ran the scanner. It beeped. She frowned, scanning again. Implants detected, but identification corrupted. Aftermarket modifications? I wouldn't know. I just bought her yesterday. You aware it's illegal to perform unauthorized augmentation on indentured labor? I didn't augment her. Whatever implants she has were there when I bought her. Ven scanned a 3rd time, frustrated. Finally, she lowered the device. Fine, but if I find out you're running unauthorized modifications, you'll lose more than your shop license. She left. Lyria stood, tears streaming, smile breaking. It worked. She touched his arm, tentative but real. You saved me. We're not safe yet. We need to plan. But the moment hung between them, a mechanic and a girl who heard the music of souls, having just stolen her back from an empire. What neither knew was the security scan had sent an automatic alert to the collective intelligence network. The countdown had begun. 3 days passed. Lyria stopped performing deafness when alone. She helped organize his shop. "You sound like rain," she told him. Steady, purposeful, necessary, calming. On the third evening, they shared a meal. Jace told her about his father. "You sound like an anchor," Lyria said. "Heavy, solid, keeping everything from drifting. But anchors can be lonely." His wrist unit chimed. "Unknown source. Merrick's Repairs." The voice was smooth, cultured, devoid of warmth. "Mr. Merrick, my name is Director Castell. I represent the Aluldran Collective's Assets Recovery Division." Jace's blood turned to ice. Lyria went rigid. "I'm looking for a young cerulean female stolen from our facilities. There was a curious security scan 3 days ago. Corrupted implant signatures matching our specifications traced to your location. Security cleared the scan. Must have been a malfunction. Perhaps, but I'm en route to Harco Station. I'll arrive in 8 hours. I'd appreciate inspecting your premises personally. You'll need a warrant." "Already obtained. See you soon." The transmission ended. "We have to run," Lyria said. "Where?" "They'll flag our IDs. Then we don't run. We fight. They have legal authority. Then we're already dead." She grabbed his hands. "I won't go back. I'd rather die here, free, than spend another hour in their facility being hooked into machines, forced to read prisoners, my abilities weaponized, children crying while I reported every fear, every secret. I was 9, Jace," her voice broke. He held her. When she pulled back, her expression was fierce. "If we can't run and can't hide, we expose them. We tell everyone what the collective does. Make it public, undeniable. Who would listen? They would if it comes from me with proof." "What proof?" She tapped her temple. "Everything. My implants record everything I perceive. 7 years of data, interrogations, experiments. If we extract and broadcast it, the collective can't suppress it all. That's massive extraction. It could damage your implants, cause permanent harm. I know. You could lose memories, cognitive function. I know, but if I don't do this, I'm not a person. I'm property. At least this way, my suffering means something." "Okay. We do it right. Full documentation, multiple channels. We protect you by making you visible before they arrive. Harder to disappear someone the whole galaxy is watching." "You sound like hope," she said. They worked through the night. Lyria recorded video testimony, speaking about her experiences, naming names, describing procedures. Her voice never wavered. Then extraction. Jace interfaced with her implants, navigating encrypted memory banks. 7 years of continuous empathic perception, interrogations, experiments, conversations about quotas and acceptable loss rates. Hours passed. Lyria gasped occasionally as he accessed traumatic memories. "We're almost there, Jace," she whispered. "Whatever happens, thank you for seeing me as a person. You sound like coming home. This won't be the end. We're going to get through this." Extraction completed. Jace compiled the data, attached testimony, and prepared to broadcast across every public channel. He was about to initiate when Lyria grabbed his hand. "Wait, I hear them. Ships docking, multiple hostiles. They're early." "How early?" "They're already on the station." The shop's door exploded inward. Armored soldiers poured through smoke, 6 in collective combat gear, weapons trained on them. Behind them walked a man in a pristine gray suit, silver hair perfectly styled. Director Castell. "Mr. Merrick," he said pleasantly. "You didn't think we'd wait 8 hours?" Jace's hand hovered over the broadcast button. Castell noticed. "I wouldn't. We have snipers positioned outside. You'll both be dead before transmission completes. Then the data dies with us. Actually, we'll extract it from your equipment. Surrender the girl, delete the files, and you walk away. Resist and we vaporize you." Lyria stood facing soldiers, shoulders squared, expression serene. "I won't go quietly," she said to Jace. "Whatever you do, know that these 3 days were the most freedom I've ever had." Then she opened her mouth and sang. Not words, not language. Pure emotion translated into sound. A lament and call to arms, pain and defiance woven together. The harmonics made Castell stagger. Soldiers clutched their helmets. But more than that, it resonated with her implants, activating impossible protocols. The data began broadcasting automatically, triggered by her song, transmitted through every frequency. "Stop her!" Castell screamed, too late. The data flooded outward, text, video, audio scattering across networks. Within seconds, thousands would see it. Within minutes, millions. Lyria's song cut off as a stun round hit. She collapsed. Jace lunged forward, catching her. Castell stood over them, composure shattered. Do you have any idea what you've done? Years of work compromised. Good. The galaxy should know what monsters you are. Castell raised his sidearm, pointing at Jace's head. You self-righteous fool. You think exposing us changes anything? We're too big. We'll weather this storm, but you won't live to see it. The weapon charged. Then a voice crackled over comms, urgent and panicked. Director, station security is responding to the broadcast. Multiple ships demanding clearance. Coalition vessels en route. We need to evacuate now. Castell's hand trembled with rage. For a long moment, Jace was certain he would fire anyway. Then the director lowered his weapon. We're leaving. But this isn't over, Mr. Merrick. The collective has a long memory. The soldiers withdrew. Within minutes, their ship detached, engines screaming. Jace held Lyria, watching broadcast data spread across his monitor. Her face was everywhere. Testimony, story, proof of the collective's crimes. She'd made herself undeniable. Lyria awoke 3 hours later in Harco Station's medical center. Jace sat beside her bed. Did it work? He showed her his data pad, a flood of responses. News organizations, human rights groups, government investigators demanding answers. Her testimony had gone viral across hundreds of worlds. Coalition representatives calling for sanctions. They can't take you back now. You're too visible. Tears slipped down her cheeks. What about the others? The children still in facilities? Coalition inspectors are demanding access. It's not over, but it's a start. You started it. Station security had cleared Jace. The collective's violent breach combined with Lyria's evidence made him a victim and hero. Multiple organizations were offering protection, legal representation, and financial support. But Lyria's neural implants had been damaged in transmission. Her empathic abilities would be diminished, filtered. Is that sad? No, it's relief. The constant noise is gone. I can still sense feelings, but now it's whispers instead of screams. She looked at him and smiled. And I can hear real sounds now without the overlay. Your voice, Jace, it's nice. Over the following weeks, Lyria gave testimony to coalition investigators. The weight of evidence forced the collective to the negotiating table. Facility inspections were mandated. Children were being returned to families. It would take years to fully dismantle the programs, but the work had begun. Merrick returned. Jace's chronometer without requiring buyback payment. Good people deserve good tools. The Corvin who'd sold Lyria was arrested on trafficking charges. 3 weeks later, they sat on the shop's roof platform looking out at the red giant star. What will you do now? Jace asked. I don't know. I'm free. Truly free. For the first time since I was a child. It's terrifying and wonderful. You could stay. The shop does well enough for 2. Or you could leave. See the galaxy. Figure out who you want to be. What do you want, Jace? I want you to be happy, whatever that means. That's not an answer. What do you want? He chose honesty. I want you to stay. I want to learn what your real laugh sounds like. I want to show you that not all humans are merchants or soldiers. I want to know you, the real you. She turned to face him fully. I'd like that too. Learning who I am with someone who's only ever seen me as a person. That sounds like a good place to start. She leaned against him, and he wrapped an arm around her shoulders. They sat in comfortable silence, watching ships come and go. Jace? Yeah? Thank you for hearing me when I couldn't speak. He smiled. Thank you for teaching me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pretend to be something you're not, until you're strong enough to be yourself. They sat there as the station cycled to night mode. 2 souls learning to exist without pretense. It wasn't perfect, wasn't safe, but it was real, and it was theirs. And that was enough. 6 months later, the galactic landscape had shifted. The scandal exposed not just the collective's crimes, but complicity of dozens of governments and corporations. Lyria became the face of a movement she'd never asked to lead. Her image appeared on protest signs across 100 worlds. Organizations formed in her name. Survivors reached out, adding their voices. She handled it with grace, giving interviews, supporting legislation, helping locate victims. But at night, she returned to Jace's shop, where they'd converted the back room into an apartment. There, she could be just Lyria. Jace's shop had become something of a pilgrimage site. He deflected attention, preferring to let his tools speak. The coalition awarded him a Medal of Humanitarian Service. He donated it to a museum documenting the collective's abuses. "You're terrible at being famous," Lyria teased. "I fix things. That's all I've ever wanted. You fixed me." "No, you were never broken. You were trapped and you freed yourself. I just held the door open." Policy changes came slowly, but they came. Laws passed mandating facility inspections. Treaties were amended to classify empathic beings as protected persons. Reparations were established for survivors. It wasn't enough, never would be, but it was more than anyone had dared hope. On the anniversary of her liberation, Lyria and Jace stood on that same roof platform. She'd been asked to speak at a memorial service for children who hadn't survived. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "Exposing everything, the attention, the pressure?" "Every day, but I also hear the other survivors reaching out. They sound like wind chimes, different notes but the same melody. And I know it was worth it." She turned to him, taking his hand. "Besides, I gained something I'd never had before. A choice, agency over my own life. That's worth any price. And you, a mechanic who sees broken systems and can't help but fix them, even when the system is a person. You're still not broken." "No, but I was missing pieces, and you helped me find them. That's a different kind of repair." They kissed as the red giant sun set beyond the station. Below, the marketplace continued its eternal churn. But up here, in this stolen moment of peace, two people existed in defiance of all forces that had tried to define them. Across the galaxy, in a refugee camp on Cerulean 6, a blue-skinned girl watched Lyria's anniversary speech on a battered screen. The girl was 11, rescued from a smuggler's ship, mute with trauma. But as Lyria spoke about survival and hope and the right of every being to determine their own destiny, the girl's lips moved, forming words for the first time in months. "I can do that too. I can be brave." In a coalition legislative chamber, a representative cited Lyria's case in a debate over interspecies rights. In a classroom on Earth, students studied the Harco Station incident as an example of individual moral courage against institutional power. And in a small repair shop on a frontier station, a mechanic and a survivor built a life together. Quiet, imperfect, real. They took in strays sometimes, runaways and refugees needing a safe place. Jace taught them repair work. Lyria taught them that strength could look like softness. The collective never fully recovered. Though they continued to exist, their power was diminished. But they'd lost the anonymity that allowed their crimes to flourish in darkness. Years later, historians would note the convergence of political pressure and social movements. But those close to the events knew the truth. It started with a lonely mechanic who couldn't walk past suffering, and a girl who learned that silence was strategy, not surrender. It started with a choice to see another person as worthy of freedom. The stars don't care about our small rebellions, but the people who witness them do. And that's how you change a galaxy. One act of stubborn kindness at a time, rippling outward until even the most distant worlds feel the tremor. Jace and Lyria never saw themselves as heroes. They were just two people trying to survive in an indifferent universe who discovered that survival could look like defiance, and defiance could sound like hope. And sometimes that's enough to shift the stars themselves.